Good
Yes.
morning, everybody. I'm Sean Mehta. I'm the Chief Technical Officer and founder of SoluSil. Our family has been in the agriculture business for over 200 years. We are one of the biggest rice growers globally, and silicon is very important for us because silicon accounts for about 10% of our weight of our rice. We work in the finest rice around the world, mainly basmati rice. And so essentially, silicon is something that's really essential for our family. And so we got into this a while back, and SoluSil is I call it the most refined, the most focused innovation in silicon. Silicon has been around now or the conversation of silicon has been around now for over 50 years. Researchers have been talking about the benefits of silicon now since World War II, since it was first kind of indicated and discovered in Japan. What we do here in SoluSil is we get into the nitty-gritty and get focused on what exactly within the cohorts of silicon provide benefit to growers. So we have minted the term hypersilicon, and we believe that hypersilicon, or another way of referring to it, monosilicic acid, is the best friend to growers. It enhances quality, improves yield, reduces costs, increases sustainability, and doubles profits. SoluSil was made with the specific needs of growers like you, whether you're greenhouse growers or you're out in the field with thousands of hectares or thousands of acres. Silicon is, even though it's not considered essential, we believe that it's essential for profits. It's essential for economics. So let's talk a little bit about SoluSil. SoluSil is MSA. MSA is, and I'm sure you've been hearing Mohammed talk about MSA. That's monosilicic acid. This is a very specific type of silicon, and it's the type of silicon that the plants need. You may have also heard of it as orthosilicic acid, but MSA is what we specifically focus on because this is the tiniest particle or the finest smallest package, which makes the silicon most bioavailable to plants. So we derive this using nanotechnology, and of course we've seen tremendous benefits around the world in almost every continent. And what we're seeing is that this is the fastest way to deliver benefit to plants. And let's talk about the countless benefits of MSA. As you've been seeing in the beautiful presentation that University of Florida just shared through Mohammed, it fortifies cell walls for greater structural strength. And we see that structural strength gives heat and cold tolerance. And we're going to talk a lot about temperature because it's really important to ornamental growers. It also accelerates growth rates for speed because we have a kind of, or I will always take an approach of how do I make you more money? How do I improve your business and provide you every possible economic benefit? Furthermore, MSA improves fertilizer utilization. So we're not only being more efficient, but we're also being cost efficient. Plus, as you've seen in the slides with Mohammed, MSA and silicon is a game changer for disease resistance and pest pressure. Yield improvement is critical. That's why we're in business. And it promotes robust root systems for better nutrition uptake. This is one of the reasons why you see improved fertilizer utilization. And ultimately, energy and energy cost is a big concern. I've been following latest economic reports, and our biggest concern is if you're not already preparing for this right now, you should, but energy costs will be the new water, will be the new concern in this age of AI, where energy costs are and energy demands are going to become exponential. So we have to start thinking about reducing energy cost, reducing demand on energy, so that we can actually provide necessary economics for profitability in our operations. So what is MSA? MSA is unlike silicon oxide. I know you've heard of silicon, and you see a lot of SiO2 out there. And we're working with a number of states ranging from Florida to California, where they're actually not wanting the mention of SiO2, but actually soluble silicon. And MSA is the soluble silicon that you need for dynamic results. SoluSil is all about MSA. So most of the products that are commonly available out in the marketplace may boast 20, 30, 50% silicon through SiO2, but they only really provide 2 to 5 parts per million of MSA. SoluSil operates in the 25 to 250 parts per million of bioavailable silicon. And it's designed specifically for foliar or root application. And we'll get into that in a second. So MSA and silicon is a game changer for disease resistance. And one of the biggest concerns with nurseries and indoor growers that we have observed and what we have helped with is downy and powdery mildew. And this can be a huge loss to the entire crop production. Hypersilicon with high concentrations of MSA can reduce mildew severity by greater than 60%. And in many cases, we have actually not observed mildew issues with the use of SoluSil. Reduction in fungicide use in petunias treated in soluble silicon, it just changes the game with everything. Plus, what we have also seen is that MSA reduces pest pressure. Chewing pests, like caterpillars, they simply cannot chew on the leaves because of the mechanical changes that happen. Mohammed, you shared a fantastic slide a few minutes ago about how silicon accumulates on the exterior of the cuticle. And essentially, we provide a mechanical barrier. And with high levels of MSA, you see this more often where our product just changes the exterior to where bugs just don't really have an interest in crops treated with silicon. Here's one example on young cauliflower, and you can see the difference without and with SoluSil. You can see without is chewed up, and with SoluSil, there's absolutely no issue whatsoever. Furthermore, pH stability is incredibly important, especially to our friends in the hydroponic space. Silicon provides excellent buffering capacity and really helps to stabilize your medium so that you can see consistency and you don't have the spikes, which can create a lot of unnecessary drama. Here's a fantastic operation that we helped in Azerbaijan. They're growing tomatoes, and we were able to improve their tomato production by about 45%. Okay, back to the root health. MSA boosts root architecture, and this is critical. We all know the importance of nutrition and nutrient uptake. Better roots delivers better uptake of nutrition from the soil, from any medium, whether it's hydroponics or soil. Plus, what we have, working with young growers, we have observed a tremendous increase in uniformity and in germination and seeds. Now, drought tolerance is obviously something that's critical. Mohammed, you did a great job in sharing a number of slides. And what we're basically seeing is that, you know, silicon, even though it's not essential for growers, it is extremely essential, especially once you ship your product out to your customers. If you're working with Walmart, if you're working with any of the large nurseries, essentially you want your product to be delivered to the end users in a wonderful way. Unfortunately, through supply chain, what we've observed is that watering becomes an issue, and watering is also a real big issue with the large big box sellers of your product. So silicon has been a huge secret weapon to improving, delivering, beautiful plants to the end customer. MSA also improves flowering and growth characteristics. We've exhibited uniform flower size and earlier blooms. We're noticing on average blooms 5 to 7 days, and larger flowers, which is obviously delightful. Customers pick up flowers that are prettier, and looks do matter. So I don't know if we've ever talked about this from the economic or from an academic point of view, but silicon makes prettier plants, prettier flowers, prettier fruits, prettier vegetables, and this does matter. It affects the supply demand curves. Here is an example of uniformity and speed using SoluSil and antennas. In fact, we reached maturity and market size 10 days faster using SoluSil. And again, I do emphasize looks here. Long and sexy stems are in. 30% thicker stems, 25% longer stems. You're creating more beautiful product for the florists, for people to enjoy at home. And this dramatically reduces lodging. And lodging is the bending and the lack of structure. Structure is the key function of silicon in the shoots and the stems. So enhancing root zone aeration and water holding capacity. This is another really important thing. SoluSil greatly improves substrate porosity, and we also improve media porosity by 18 to 20%. For many of you who are joining us today from the Northeast, your days are getting longer, but essentially light is an issue. And many of our customers and growers in Europe and in the northern hemisphere, they have concerns about light, and essentially silicon allows you to actually produce more efficiently in low light situations. And if you're having to supplement, there's a huge energy penalty, energy cost. So silicon can give you a tremendous boost if you are especially as you're growing in the winter months when your light is a lot less from natural sources. So SoluSil is also about reducing energy consumption. And energy is going to be a bigger and bigger topic. You heard it here first, and watch how you hear more of this now as you evolve over the next few years. But energy costs are not coming down. It's really scary. And so SoluSil and silicon is a tremendous secret advantage if you want to lower your energy bills, because, well, let's talk about the winters. I mean, it gets colder. And when it's cold in your greenhouse, you either have to turn up the heat and use more energy, and energy costs money, and it reduces your profits. Or you can actually have plants which are more dynamic and more abiotic stress resistant. SoluSil and silicon and MSA and high parts per million of silicon allow you to be more energy smart. So you can actually, in the winter months, reduce your energy bill by about 20% if this is important to you. Now, let me just say one thing. The slide doesn't talk about how energy could also, how heat and temperature could affect you on the other side in the summers, where you may have to use a lot more electricity for ventilation and for cooling. And in that case as well, you will see dramatic energy savings in the summer. Increased quality and yield are incredibly important to all of us. We want to deliver the most beautiful crops to our end customers. You're going to see more intense colors. You're going to see bigger flowers. You're going to see sexier stems. Looks matter, guys. And so we are, strong advocates of silicon because you actually make more beautiful crops and more blooms. Remember, this is the stuff that gets picked up first, and you're going to have a lot more of it being picked up. So SoluSil may not be an essential element. Silicon may not be an essential element like NPK, but we think it's essential if you want to have a highly profitable operation. We believe that SoluSil and silicon is a key driver to being strategic and smart about having a more, economically viable or profitable business. So to sum it up, what we're doing is we're increasing cold resistancy, reducing stress, we're boosting yield, which is just fantastic for all of us. We're seeing this across the board, whether we're with fruit, vegetable, with ornamental, turf, all types of growers. We're actually working with mushrooms right now, which is quite exciting, and we're seeing it there as well. You're also going to be enhancing quality, and quality is not just more beautiful product, but product that lasts through supply chain and delivers to your end consumer, which lasts longer. So it's about flowers which have 3, 5, 7 day longer life, on your dining room table. So silicon is essential in our practice, working with growers all over the world. It is essential to maximize profit. It's about more yield. It's about reducing costs. If you or your CFO, have a concern about improving efficiency for building more profitable operation, you have to start looking at MSA. You have to start looking at silicon, because this is the edge that you're looking for. Thank you so much, guys. And we can, I'm sure you have some questions for me, so I'm going to end the slideshow here and let's talk.
All right. Thank you, Sean. That was very informative as well. And there are some questions in the chat. I cleaned up, not the chat, sorry, in the Q&A. I did clean up the Q&A a little bit. So I don't know if you want to start from the bottom and work your way up. I left one of the questions for Jennifer regarding use of silicon in perennials. So if you would just read the question aloud first, Sean, and then go ahead and provide your answer.
Would you mind just reading the question? Oh, I'm going to stop the share
yeah,
here.
I can do that.
There we
That's
go.
fine.
There you go. Thank you so much. Let's read the question.
So we have a question of, do you have a list of all plant material that you have tested your product on available to the trade? And Mohammed, if you want to participate in this as well, feel free. And anyone, actually, any of the panelists.
Oh, yeah, I think I already answered this question.
This one just came in at 10:30.
10:30. What was the question?
Do you have a list of all plant material that you have tested your product on available to the trade?
Oh, okay. That's Sean. You can answer on which crops we have tested so far.
We have tested on a wide range of crops, ranging from fruits and vegetables to mushrooms, to nuts, to trees. We're working in the citrus industry very effectively. We're working in the grains and cereals. Of course, rice is a big strategic concern for us. ornamentals, turf. Why don't you connect directly with me with what you're growing so that I can give you very specific details offline?
And I am going to, in our follow-up email, I will provide everyone's contact information, and you'll also have access to their slides as well. Sean, I have a question for you.
Certainly.
In any of your trials, has there been any negative response to silicon?
Mina, there's been no negative response. In fact, we've been looking for a negative response, and essentially, the biggest thing I can compare silicon and MSA to is it's a chill pill. It relaxes the plants and essentially allows for the plants to do, gets them into the Zen mode. And I know this is kind of weird to talk about this in this way, but we have not seen, because there's no such thing as silicon toxicity. And Mohammed and countless studies have proven this time and time again. The unused silicon, which is not used by the actual crop species, actually starts benefiting the soil in most cases. And so when we are in the ground, for example, and we're working on grapes, or we're working on mangoes, all right, or palm trees, what you're doing here is silicon starts benefiting the soil and starts accumulating in the soil. And essentially, silicon is a very powerful tool in carbon sequestration and bringing carbon back into the soil and regenerating soil. So the thing is, what we have noticed in most cases is that typical growers are working in highly depleted silicon environments. If you're working in water, for example, you have virtually no silicon whatsoever. If you're working in soil and that farm has been productive for more than 5 years, you have virtually no bioavailable silicon. And so we've not seen any concern about silicon or too much silicon being counterproductive.
Okay. All right. Thank you. And then the next question is, let's see. Have you tried this on growing native perennial plants? We may want to save that for Neil or Matt, but Sean, have you tried this? I know you're in Texas, but they're not native to us. But
we have customers and accounts all over. I would defer this question to someone else, because we probably have, but I don't have it available at my fingertips right now.
I've tried testing silicon products in native grasses to our region, and granted, it wasn't for testing silicon benefits in particular. It was for another question that I had, but I didn't see any negative effects either. And it certainly made me more curious about testing silicon. And definitely these two talks
I couldn't imagine I couldn't imagine anything negative whatsoever.
No, sometimes you have to worry about phytotoxicity. So I was curious. Okay, the next question: where is SoluSil available, and how does it differ from Dynagrow?
Dynagrow is a fantastic product. Don't get me wrong. Dynagrow, if you look at the label, has a very different level of comparison of monosilicic acid. We would love to share samples of our product, and you are welcome to compare on your side. We believe that we will provide you with a game-changing amount of monosilicic acid. So you will be seeing incredible benefits, whether you're applying by foliar or through root application.
Let's move on to the next question. This one says, Sean, I'm looking at your website and everything appears as sold out.
We can't keep it in stock, guys. And we just received, yes, it's doing quite well. And, our product has produced incredible results around just email us. We'll make sure that we can get you on the waiting list so we can get you product immediately. All right.
Next question, as silicon accumulates in the soil, will it enhance microbial activity?
It is absolutely game-changing to microbial activity. We recently were part of a project in Mexico, and we were working with a association, and they got back to us because they were, of course, excited about 30% improvement in cucumbers. But what they were more excited about was 1,500x improvement in microbial activity in the soil. So we like this because this is the natural source of fertilizer that the plants desire. So it's absolutely critically essential for microbial benefits.
All right. And then, Sean, you had mentioned, I guess, that SoluSil improves substrate porosity. Can you explain how it does that?
Substrate porosity. We are okay. So we were working with a grower, and I can give you many examples in Fresno, and they were growing almonds at the time, and they were having a lot of issues with the soil being compacted. All right, and what we saw, because of the molecular arrangement of monosylic acid, the way monosylic acid essentially polymerizes and creates a molecule that's like a surfactant. A surfactant has a powerful way to kind of separate and to create extra distance between molecules and to orient molecules in the right direction. So let me explain this in plain old Anglo-Saxon here. We helped create more aeration in the soil, or more spaces in the soil. Better soil spacing meant that there was actually more real estate for microbial growth. There was more space for water to kind of settle and accumulate, versus the water not being able to penetrate the soil and the medium, if you want to call it that. So porosity meant that we could actually keep more soil after each watering in the water, in the soil, versus it running off. So it's very essential if you're in the ground specifically.
I'm not sure if Muhammad answered these next two questions, and there's another one that just came in that I'll ask in a second, but are all forms of silicon capable of a drench and a foliar application?
I can't answer all forms because most forms of silicon are absolutely not bioavailable. I have a glass right here. This is made out of silicon right here, but guess what? It's not dissolving in the water. So silicon, there's been a lot of goofiness in our industry, and I know California, Florida, Texas, and a number of other states are becoming extremely strict about labeling requirements. So please refer to your labels, and if your labels are still showing SiO2, I would not trust that label. If your label is talking about bioavailable, water soluble, then you have mechanisms which can actually deliver properly through watering, through drenching, through foliar, through root applications.
Okay. And then this is another one. Okay, that I'm not sure if Muhammad answered, but if you have mixed plant material or, crops within a greenhouse, can one formula work for all of those plants?
Absolutely. It can work for all plants. I can elaborate in many different ways. If you have any specific questions or concerns, you can reach out to me directly, but there's no problem whatsoever. I do want to mention one thing. There was a question earlier with Mohammed about can you mix other fertilizers with silicon? Generally speaking, silicon comes in a precursor and has to turn into monosylic acid within water. And so generally speaking, you want silicon or your silicon product to go first into the water. It's very important. We have observed variations of practices, and so you can add fungicides, you can add magnesium, you can add whatever you want, but silicon has to go in first. You need to give it about 3 to 5 minutes to kind of get hydrolyzed, And then after that, you can add whatever you want, and you have to make sure the other products are compatible. You can always do a jar test, but fundamentally, compatibility is what silicon is very friendly in that sense.
Now, when you say to do the jar test, do you mean to make sure that the solution remains, mixed and it doesn't kind of separate? Can you just explain a little bit further on what you mean by the jar test?
Well, typically jar tests are done to make sure that you don't have fallout or precipitation of something. So if all of a sudden you see like white salts, fall out onto the bottom in the course of like 5 to 10 minutes, then you've had some interaction. And for those of us who are more technical, we tend to look for these kind of things, because then what we're looking at is as strange polymerizations and interactions, which can basically turn some of the inputs useless because you're aggregating and locking up these nutrients.
Okay. All right. So the next question for you is, on your website, it says bioavailable 12.0 to 16.6% soluble silicon. Is 16.6% the max soluble silicon, or is it 12.8%?
No, so we have different formulations, which are custom formulations for clients, which can go into the high 16%. So this is where our customers are interested in 500 ppm loads of monosilicic acid. It may not be for everybody, and it's very expensive. But the thing is, we have certain pharmaceutical clients who are looking for extreme robust amounts of silicon. And if you're looking for a dynamic range, reach out to us. We can help you.
All right. So I think you answered this question already. It's in the chat. It says, is water the carrier in this product? I'm assuming they mean, I don't know if they mean silicon or if they mean SoluSil, but I imagine it's the same thing.
Water is the carrier of life. Okay. And, last I checked, I think I was about 78% water, and yes, water is everything. Solubility is everything. That's why when I see a sack of silicon, usually it says SiO2 on it, and it's usually just sand. I can go to the beach and grab it, but it's not going in the water. So water is very important for silicon and monosilicic acid specifically. I don't know if I'm just going to give you a novel fact. We make silicon or we make monosilicic acid the way Mother Nature makes monosilicic acid, and that's basically we mimicked how monosilicic acid is made in the oceans, and it's made in seawater. Okay, and so it's actually born in water. Okay, it's deployed in water. It lives in a water medium, okay, and it dies when it doesn't have water. Okay, so you follow the trend here. Water is everything for silicon. Water is everything for life.
Right. And then this question, I think I'm going to butcher it, but is TEOS, which stands for tetrahydroorthosilicate, the precursor for the MSA? Usually that reacts in water for MSA. So I don't think I read that.
Okay. TEOS. No, TEOS is TEOS was derived and created for the semiconductor industry, and it's used actually on circuit boards. Okay, and TEOS is generally not water soluble. It is actually it's actually suspended in ethanol. Okay, in alcohol. Okay. And so I generally you can actually take TEOS and send it to the lab down in Miami called Thornton Labs, and if you put it on the solubility scale, it's going to actually show a high solubility number. All right. I generally have a concern, and we looked at TEOS when we were developing one of our systems, and even though we were seduced by big numbers, we found that the actual solubility into plants was not to our liking and to our standards, and plus we didn't like the flammability nature of TEOS. So for us, we had an option many years ago when we were designing SoluSil to look into the TEOS methodology, but no, we're not big proponents of it. I know that there are other companies that use TEOS, and I'm sure they have great reasons for using it. But we just did not like the issue that it's dangerous for storing. It's flammable. Plus, ethanol has its own issues. So we wait for it
to be in the real world where we are, and we see that there's no such thing as a no stress environment. It's everything is stress. These farmers have a very stressful life. Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Thank you again.
Bye-bye.
I guess I think all of you uploaded your presentations. If you haven't, I'll reach out to you. But like I said, I'll follow you. I mean, I will copy you all on the follow-up email, so you'll have access to the recording as well.
Mina, we'll send you our latest updated one. We had some changes last night, so we'll get you the latest one.
Okay, appreciate that. Yeah, thank you. All right, bye
Bye.
everyone.
Bye.